to talk about the Atlanta Falcons side because I think there's tons
Yes.
to break down on this side of the ball. We saw Matt Ryan pick up right where he left off. 54 attempts, went 37 to 54, 450 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Steph, I think Matt Ryan is going to lead the league in attempts again, and I think he's probably going to lead the league in passing yards if the defense can't step it up because that's all they can do. They didn't get much going on the ground. Gurley, 14 for 56 and a touchdown. Didn't even play 50% of snaps. So, Steph, a lot of takeaways here. I mean, I think in the receiving core, it's pretty clear. Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley are going to be starters every week. They're both fantastic. But it's really the other pieces that we need to talk about on the Atlanta side. Todd Gurley, are you worried about his workload moving forward?
I think part of this was game script in this game, but you might end up seeing this game script a lot in Atlanta. Next week, they go up against Dallas. I'll probably still start Gurley in that matchup. Hopefully, you got him at a place where you're not relying on him every single week as your RB1. Hopefully not RB1. Hopefully not RB2, and he's a guy that you can flex. I do like him in a high-flying matchup, but I don't think he's going to be the workhorse we all want him to be. Again, I'm not sure if it's something that's game script dependent. Are they limiting his snaps? Are they easing him in week 1? But what I do know is Calvin Ridley looks like he's going to be having the breakout that we all expected if the team's going to continue to throw the ball this much. And how in the world do Ridley, Julio, and Russell Gage all go 12 for 9 through the air, and then Ridley puts up 2 touchdowns of his own, so Julio's still not getting those touchdowns. It's like almost just copy and paste everything over from the end of the 2019 Falcons. Everyone's talking about guys who saw a lot of targets week 1, talk about Paris Campbell. We'll mention some of these names later. Robbie Anderson, Quintez Cephas is coming up in places that he probably shouldn't. Don't make fantasy harder than it needs to be. For a weekly flex, Russell Gage, to me, is the perfect player that you want. He's the number 3 on a high-volume offense that you always know you can start in the right matchup, and one of those matchups is week 2 against Dallas. So for a guy just to pick him right off the waivers, plug him in your flex spot, desperation wide receiver 2 spot, maybe you were a Michael Thomas, who now has a high ankle sprain. Maybe you had Mike Evans, who looks like he's hurt. Kenny Golladay was out last week. We'll see if he's back. But if you need a spot start at wide receiver, you can do a lot worse than Russell Gage. He's probably out there on your waiver wire. He was a guy. He put up 20 points in this game. So I'm all over Gage. And this offense is just going to keep moving.
Yeah.
Gurley, I'm kind of jumping around here, but 2 for 5 through the air, 1 yard. I do expect that to get a little bit better. It was nice to see him get 5 targets. So I think it could be something where he's easing into the offense. I'm still willing. I'm not out on him at any means. I don't want to overreact to week 1. I'm still plugging in Gurley on a weekly basis as that mid to high end RB2.
Yeah, Steph, you mentioned the game script, and it's interesting because coming in, we talked about Devontae Freeman last season. His value really came through the air. And in this game, we did see Gurley get the 5 targets, which is great. Didn't do anything with them. But Brian Hill had 2 receptions. Ito Smith had 3 receptions. Gurley only had 2. So if we're going to start to see Brian Hill and Ito Smith get work, in the passing game and take some of that away from Gurley, that's definitely concerning for me. Again, they did trail there at the end, so maybe they just wanted to preserve Gurley. They threw out that number, 15 to 25 touches a week. This week he was at 16. So if we start to see him on the higher end of that, maybe if he gets a few more carries, gets a couple more catches and does something with them, he's valuable, and he was fine. I mean, in PPR leagues, he got you somewhere around 13, 14 points, which definitely doesn't kill you if he was your RB2. So I think we'll see bigger weeks from Todd Gurley, especially if he gets it going through the air. And I agree with you on the Russell Gage take. I won't belabor that point. I think if you can pick him up off waivers, if you've got an open bench spot, maybe you had to move someone to your IR. Gage is someone you can throw in your flex, 5 for 50, 6 for 60. Those are the type of weeks he's going to put up. If he has a breakout week in a huge high-volume game like this one or a touchdown, he's going to be a really solid start, and he has a pretty high floor in this offense. Last guy I want to talk about, Steph, is Hayden Hurst. A lot of people are thinking, hey, I drafted this guy. He's my tight end. Should I cut him and pick up someone else? I'm going to go ahead and say no. He only had 3 catches for 38 yards on 5 targets in this game, in a game with a ton of volume. Steph, what's your take on Hayden Hurst? Do you think this was a case of Matt Ryan focusing in on the receivers? It was a Russell Gage game instead of Hayden Hurst. And do you think Jamal Adams actually had a huge impact on shutting down the tight end position? Because I think the Seahawks' pass defense against the tight end was so weak last season, 30th in the NFL, that they brought in Jamal Adams to help cover that position. And I think that was a factor in Hayden Hurst having a quieter day. He was on the field a ton.
Yeah, Hurst was on the field for 62 snaps. That was a 78% snap share amongst tight ends. So you feel good about that. He's definitely going to be their tight end 1 there. I don't know. I'm not off on him yet. what we really don't want to do here is overreact to week one, but the volume is going to be there. That was the clear thing to see is like this is just the same Falcons team that's just going to pass, and then pass some more.
I want all the Falcons I can get. Absolutely.
Exactly. So Hurst, like he's not going to be a weekly starter. You can probably look at some streamer guys. Hopefully you got an upside play that we saw perform well in week one, like a Johnny Smith, like a Fant, like a Hawkinson, that you can kind of make the decision between Hurst or one of those guys. I'm not off on him yet, but definitely wasn't a guy that was pulling the trigger on him at his ADP because I liked all the later options.
And if you're in a 12-team league, honestly, even a 10-team league, if someone drops Hayden Hurst after the week performance, if you have a spot on the end of your bench, I think you should pick him up. If you see him floating around on the waiver wire, don't plug him into your starting lineup just yet if you have other better options. But I think Hayden Hurst is going to be just fine. And if we see a couple good games from him in a row, that's where I'm saying, okay, it's Hayden Hurst time, let's go. Because he still has a ton of potential. First game in a new offense. I was a little bit higher on him going into the week. Fool me once, shame on me. Not going to fool me twice.